Alright, so now's the time for some fun modeling here. I've got the old console, the computer console for the Mego Star Trek Enterprise playset from the mid-1970s. It's going to be a fun little model to draw. Now, I want you to think about this for just a second. One of the first things I do when I start to back engineer something like this and get ready to draw it is I just kind of look it all over at all the different sides, trying to kind of decide what's the best method for me to actually get the different shapes that are needed. And in this case, I'm basically going to draw this from a side view, more or less, as I go, because there are some angles in here. So this is going to be 3 sketches with 3 extrusions going on to basically create this and knock this out. So, and I'll show you what I mean here. So as I go, start a new part, and I'll start that 2-dimensional sketch. Excuse me. Again, excuse me again. I am going to be sketching here on the XY plane, looking down at this, and you'll see this is more like a trapezoid type shape, going in different directions in these 3 sections here. So that's kind of the way I'm going to approach this particular problem as I draw this. So, starting out, again, I'm just going to kind of come in here with some lines, and on this particular one, I'm going to start with this here as my feature. We'll just kind of draw that basic shape here, and as I'm looking at it. So I don't really have to worry too much about dimensions at this point, so because I can come back in and put them in later. So we're roughly probably about 2 inches, more around 2 inches here. So we'll tap that over. Let me zoom out here as I kind of get this in. And that's going to be at 0 degrees. And then that's about 3/4 of an inch going this way. So then I'm coming back over this way. Don't know or don't really worry too much about what that angle is in there at the moment. And then I'm going to close that off up there. Now at this point, I'll double check real quick just to make sure that my dimensions are okay. So actually that one is 2 1/4, and this is when you get into sometimes Inventor acting goofy. When you start to change dimensions and there are no constraints on here, sometimes it just kind of does different things on you. So as I get this in, taking these measurements, and these are not super accurate, I'm just kind of going, yep, that was 3/4. On this back side, I'm 1 1/8 over here, so I will place a 1 1/8 dimension on this line. 5, and kind of brings that in my angle, and we'll finish that sketch. Now, I'm going to do this symmetrically. So when I do this particular extrusion, so here is the symmetry. So, and on this overall length here, that comes to 7 1/4 inches. So place that 7.25, and that gives me that point there. So that's the first extrusion. Now I'm going to do another 2-dimensional sketch. I'm going to come down again. I want to be back on that XY plane, so I will select that. In this case now, I'm going to come up and do the same thing for up top here. So, and because this part right here is sticking out from that plane, I can't really see inside there, so I come right over here to my sketch. I'm going to slice these graphics. That cuts it apart. Now I can actually see inside the extrusion that I just created on that sketch plane, and we'll kind of get some geometry drawn here. So put this up. I can go ahead and enter these at the moment. This is measuring this. That's 2.5 inches there, so 2.5. And coming back across, this was a little shallower. No, not really. That's 3/4 there too, so 0.75 there. And at the bottom of this, that's going to be 1 inch down there. So I'll just kind of roughly guesstimate what that should be. And at this point, it doesn't really matter because I can create this line when I close this off. So over to there. I can set my dimension on that. Nope, notice it said cancel on that. So go back, let me select that. It picked up on that and projected that geometry from the other sketch. So I just want this here, and this is going to be 1 inch on that. There you go. So you got to sometimes be careful because it will project over geometry on you as you're drawing. So just be mindful of that. So finish that sketch, and again we're going to extrude this. Notice how far it comes out. I am keeping this symmetrical. So, and on this case, that is 4 inches. Change that dimension to 4. Place that. So here's what I got so far. Bring this over where you can see it. So there is my isometric view. Here's the front view of this. Really technically the side. So here's the right side view. So gives you an idea of what this is going to look like as we go. So, and now I can go back and again start that third sketch. As I'm working on this now, I'll come back in and I'll sketch out this bottom part right here. So I started with the middle, then I did this top part, and now I'm working on this bottom to fill this in and finish this off. So go ahead, we'll start sketch. Again, we're on that XY plane here. I again want to slice these graphics so I can actually see where that is. And in this case, I'm going to start to draw my line. Will basically start here at this corner, and that actually looks to be 45 degrees to me. So I'm going to make that 45 degrees right now. Don't worry too much at the moment of whether the line length on that is correct or not. So this is 1 inch on this part. Coming back over now, another 2 3/4 back that way, and then this kind of comes up the rest of the way to here, and the last line, of course, will go from here up to there, closing that off. Alright, so and making sure that is roughly 2 inches going on that side. Let me mention this. That says 2.6, so I'm a little long, so let me just make that 2. So still up to 2.75. Maintains that 45 degree angle. Just double checking. Yep, that's looking pretty good. Looking exactly like what I want here. So as well, we'll go ahead and finish this sketch. Extrude that. Again, I'm going to make this symmetrical about that plane. And this is smaller. This is only 2 inches on this face. So let me make that 2. There we go. That's pretty good. Let me see what it looks like from the front side here. There we go. Rotate it around. of light blue here somewhere. It's a medium blue. Oh, that's a tile. As I look through. There, that cyan color there. That kind of, not quite exactly the same color, but it's looking pretty good. So we'll select that basically for it. Coming back here as we go, if I want to do the shell, I can kind of rotate around to the back of this. If I were 3D printing this, this is another one with differences between 3D printing. Notice this is a molded part, and in the production states, one of the reasons why manufacturers will do this like this with their molds is because obviously it saves on plastic, and they don't spend as much money for the plastic material, so it makes a big difference. Now, 3D printing, this is kind of problematic because we're still going to use up all of that material. If I were to print this facing down like this, I would have all sorts of support material to build that up. Printing this way, even printing, no matter how I print it, I'm going to have support materials that are going on here to support all of these overhangs and ledges in the printing process. So for me, when I'm modeling like this, it's perfect for me to just leave it solid like that, and then I can limit my infill and reduce the amount of plastic that I actually use when I print this out. Whereas if I'm using supports and doing it like this, then I would still be using the same amount of plastic. So it really doesn't matter one way or the other. But if I were designing this to actually make this be like a, say, a blow molded type part or a thermoform part or some other type of molded part, then I would certainly want to use the shell feature here and kind of put that on here and kind of cut all this out as I go and shell that material out so that it's not in there on the back. So you can kind of see there how that works and gives me the shell feature on that, which actually kind of creates a pretty cool looking part if you think about it. And I like that. So, but that is certainly not something that I would want to do for 3D printing. So anyway, we will save this now. So I'll go File, Save As. This is my Star Trek console. So we'll put that in there for all of us Mego Star Trek fans from the 1970s. So save it. And that's that model. The only thing left on this, of course, would be to come in and apply some decals and so forth on here and on these three surfaces to make it a little bit more like the original. So anyway, enjoy watching it. Pretty simple model to create. Go ahead, if you have Inventor, give it a try. If you're using some other CAD software too, give it a try. You can do it. As always, leave comments in the comment section.